Hi everyone, I'm E.T. Today's speaker on LifeTree TV, the Treeable Life in the Light. My big greetings to you. I share with you on every Friday and Wednesday with amazingly different stories. Today is the Friday and I'm going to tell you about the final unravelment on typhoons. Because of typhoons having consciousness, those who have spiritual capabilities to communicate with all the creatures can make a conversation with the consciousness of typhoons. Nature begins to change through learning its intangible life cycles and is exposed to the tangible superficial layer through the result of its change. The source of the vitality of nature is the energies of earth, water, fire, wind. These four energies have their own consciousness. A typhoon is a living creature with the consciousness of water and wind and has its own life cycle. Before a typhoon is formed in the real world, the seed of a typhoon, which has consciousness of water and wind, is first sown in a specific area. In the seed of a typhoon, there are invisible 9th dimensional and 11th dimensional energy beings in groups who govern the consciousness of water and wind. Yes, the consciousness of the typhoon. The seed of the typhoon contains intangible devices that determine the size and strength of the typhoon. As the typhoon develops, the intangible devices also grow bigger and bigger. There is a program related to the life cycle of the typhoon stored in the consciousness of the energy beings attached to the seed of the typhoon. These energy beings are given the role of controlling and coordinating all the parameters that determine the size and intensity of the typhoon. For example, the size and quantity of accompanying rains and winds, etc. Once the seed of the typhoon is sown, the 13th dimension in the Taeguk world begins to supply energy to the seed of the typhoon to help the typhoon grow. The energy supplied to the seed of the typhoon also enables intangible devices to work, so that the typhoon finally becomes exposed to the tangible superficial layer, via the intangible middle layer and the intangible deep layer. The energy from the Taeguk is also supplied to the energy beings attached to the seed of the typhoon. Thus, the energy beings attached to the seed of the typhoon will remove the variables in order to maintain the path of the typhoon as stored in the program of the typhoon. In communicating with the control center, which governs the climate change of the planet Earth, when the seed of the typhoon is sown, the life cycle of the typhoon has already been determined. When the seed of the typhoon is laid, the path of the typhoon that matches the purpose of the typhoon has already been determined. When the seed of the typhoon is planted, the track of the typhoon has already been determined by running a number of simulations in consideration of as many parameters as possible, such as distribution of atmospheric pressure around the typhoon, the temperature of ocean water, and the characteristics of the jet stream. When the seed of the typhoon is sown in the invisible world, the dimensions and numbers of the energy beings who determine the size and intensity of the typhoon are determined. The greater the number of energy beings and the higher the dimensions of the energy beings are, the size and strength of the typhoon get bigger. When the seed of the typhoon is sown in the invisible world, the intangible devices which determine the size, intensity, and nature of the typhoon are selected to be installed. The role of these intangible devices follows the course of the typhoon. If the typhoon develops stronger, the machinery system will grow bigger. On the other hand, if the typhoon downgrades to decay, the function of the devices will then weaken and be terminated eventually. The seed of the typhoon harbors the heavenly energy beings in charge of water and wind, intangible devices, and all the required programs regarding the typhoon all together. The eye of the typhoon has a control center of the typhoon, which is the consciousness of the typhoon. This control center, which is located in the eye of the typhoon, is connected to the main control center that controls earth, water, fire, and wind on the earth. The seed of the typhoon grows by the consciousness of the typhoon. The consciousness of the typhoon passes through the life cycle of the typhoon, while being supplied with energy and information by the main control center of the earth. All the tangible things and phenomena that are visible to us should be determined priorly in the tangible deep layer that is not visible to us before their exposure to the tangible superficial layer. It is the law of nature and also the principle of the grand universe. So far, the secret about the invisible world involved in the typhoon has been described at the eye level of human consciousness. Also, for the sake of the light workers whose consciousness are being awakened, the heavenly people whose consciousness must wake up in order to live on the new earth, under the new heaven. And those who will survive the shifting of the earth's axis and construct a new spiritual civilization. I, Captain Udeka, leave this secret of the invisible world hidden behind the typhoon as a record. I wish mankind all the best. Tuesday, 21st of August, 2018, 2:15 a.m. Udeka Right. Thank you.